Okay, guys, going to wrap up day one of HighEnd 2023 Munich. And as you know, if you're a longtime subscriber, I basically upload quasi-streaming all day as I leave a room, and then I wrap up to give you a little more commentary. Now, what I did at this show, because it's more like a CES from days past, where brands are bringing all of their models, static displays of everything they have, and it's more of a business oriented with business to business transactions, talking with distributors, dealers, than strictly focused on consumer shows and showing sound, because the sound quality, quite frankly, in these rooms is not good at all. The exception is of something good is actually more than how many bad rooms. Now, I have one that stuck out as really bad. I'll mention it later in this video as I go down the list. But on par, everything is well below average. So it's not so much a show for showcasing sound quality clips, but what I like to do is give you an insight of the people behind it, and let you hear their presentations that they're giving to the entire thing. I don't like to dominate their time unless they ask for an interview and whatnot. So I want to start from the end of the day back and forward, because there's so many things that occurred today that were noteworthy, even though the sound quality wasn't that great. I made actually a little list here, so I'm going to put it up here to kind of remind me. One of them at the end of the day was Zeloton. And what made this room probably forever memorable is a few things. Number one, they had the weirdest bass trap I've ever seen. It's just an empty tube, but had some weird square in there that you could rotate, and little diamond, triangular things on it. And then they had some antenna thing on the back that was totally different, really wacky, kind of cool. If it's not too expensive, I'll try it just because it's so wacky, and it's in the realm of room treatments, which I will throw a little money just to do something weird on that. So it was crazy. But what was really even more memorable, of all the songs that I've ever heard at a show, they were playing this song from this album, and all of a sudden, it was a normal song, not really great to start, but all of a sudden, the song burst out in just a screech lyric, and people are just like, what the hell was that? And it kind of sounds distorted and not right. Not the equipment's fault at all, just the type of music was just very bizarre. But I even went up there. If you watch the video, I went up there and asked the guy. That's why I like to do these stream of conscious, nothing planned, because it's kind of fun to hear. Yeah, we just play whatever. It's kind of funny. And then they played something a little more normal, not that much more normal, but I got back in that seat. But I learned a little bit more also about Zeloton being in business since, what did he say, the 40s or 30s? Unbelievable, making their own drivers. So I want to go back in that room when they're playing a little more normal music to judge it. But it made a impression on me for those metrics alone. Worthwhile going back. Great guy running the room. Got to meet him a little more, talk to him a little more out in the hallway, which I didn't capture on video, but definitely a room I'll probably be back to, and one you should check out. I was overall impressed. Definitely memorable though, in that respect. The other one near the end of the day was these Chinese horns. I know it's going to attract the people that go for cost no object, because you put mega dollar price tags on stuff, a couple $1 million, whatever it is, 24 boxes. You could play Connect 4 with that rack. It was ridiculous. And it's Chinese, so you're going to trigger some people, you're going to trigger others because it's cool with the price tag. Some are going to be cool with the horns and the look. Not my style. I've seen those speakers actually many times. They used to be at Rocky Mountain pretty much regularly, and had the same kind of setup that they did today. Now, some of those other ones that were in there that looked like the airplane engine and other ones I hadn't recognized, but it was a cool room nonetheless. Wanted to showcase it for you. Hope you enjoyed that. Obviously, not many people are going to have this room for that size speaker. They're not going to have the budget for it, and the electronics and all that, but cool nonetheless. That's what kind of these shows are all about. Also, right across the hall from them was Dart Seal, which was memorable for other reasons than, again, sound quality you can't really judge. But I was looking at the measurements of their amp, and it was rated higher at 8 ohms, and it wasn't to 2 ohms, which was a little bizarre. I'm not sure if that's a typo because the 4 ohm was greater than the 8 ohms. So somewhat bizarre, but they are known for doing a little bit different type of designs and stuff that they are adamant about their way of doing things, and it's brought them a lot of success. So who knows, maybe intentional, just a little bit abnormal. So if you see that, it may be, if I have time I can talk to them. But the other thing that stood out in that room is what not to do at a show. You guys know there's a lot of reviewers and people on YouTube that have no self-awareness. Those guys really well. But don't be that kind of guy as an attendee either, that just go behind the gear where there's a lot more cords behind the gear. Now you can go up to the gear and take pictures and go in front of the racks, but unless they invite you back there like they did when I went to the Zellaton room to go look at that bass trap in the back, you don't want to be going behind there and just staring at the back of gear, potentially tripping over stuff and ruining company's show by either shorting something, pulling something out. It's just not worth it. Whatever you can see back there can be seen on a website behind the gear. It's not really that important. Cabling can be seen or asked about. So don't be that guy with no self-awareness. We have enough of them, okay? Another thing, Bach was on that floor, and that's a new Jensen speaker, which again, I'm not even that impressed with the frequency response and tonal balance in that room compared to the Jensen speaker they had at Expona. But the amount of crosstalk cancellation he's getting in that room is exceptional. So what you want to judge, especially in these rooms, if you're going in there, you're not going in there for sound quality per se, on tonality, bass, or frequency response in general. What you want to do is focus on spatial changes, the spatial cues. And if you ever have this feeling that what I'm listening to is a gimmick or not real or fake or unnatural, all you have to do is ask Edgar to do this experiment for you. And this is what I've proved to people that didn't know what to believe. Is this a gimmick or not? Is it fake? Is it whatever? What you can do while the microphones are in your ear, he can return the room into a recording studio. He can leave those in your ear and talk to you at 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock, behind you at 6 o'clock, come whisper in your ears, recording this all on the microphones that are in your ears, exactly what you're getting into your ears. Then play that recording back on the main speakers, the Jensens, and you can A/B test with the Bach on or off. And what you will then see is that the gimmick is what we've been listening to all along for years and decades. Two speakers with crosstalk have collapsed the soundstage, made it super dense in between the speakers, and that's the gimmick. That's not what real is, because when you listen to what you heard recorded live and hear it played back, you're going to see that the Bach actually reveals more of the spatial cues than without the Bach. And so the more real is with the Bach engaged, the gimmick is what we've been listening to for decades. Now, you may still like whatever you like. If you've been conditioned to like a condensed sound stage and a dense center image and whatever, but pretty much if you realize now that that is not correct, that's the gimmick. And now you have the chance to hear the true spatial cues accurately and tonality the same. That's what you want to focus on, and feel free to have them do that experiment, because that, if you do have any, most people, as you saw, they get in that chair, they never get up. It's usually a half hour per person, and very few people get in there. So you want to request that center seat, request to be calibrated if you can, and see for yourself. Most people are instantly, won over. But if you have any doubts, go through that process I just outlined with Edgar. And actually, David Chesky's in there as well. They were at recordings that they can play for you and tell you in advance where the people were, and then you can listen for yourself because they were there. So further proof of that, it's revealing the truth versus the gimmick that we've always been accepting. Now, another one, let's see, Estalon was on that floor, and they released their new Aura, much more affordable, I think under 20K, beautiful finish, doesn't have the Accuton drivers, but for a small room in terms of wife acceptance factor and impressing people with a work of art type speaker that gives you very high level performance, you want to look at that speaker. And Alyssa, who I had that interview with from Estalon a few years ago, she's at the show as well as her father. So I plan to go back and maybe have an interview with her and talk a little bit more about all the recent the Extreme Mark II, because I have a friend that's coming here actually that bought the Extreme Mark II, and then also talk about the Aura in more detail and what the inspiration behind those were. Also, spent a lot of time in NBL today, and normally at this show, I probably didn't anticipate spending a lot of time in NBL because I spend a lot of time at other shows and I wanted to focus on brands I don't normally see. But NBL blew me away at this show in terms of being one of the few rooms that got great performance. Now, they have the budget and they have the room to bring so many, and they're in their backyard. So they could bring a lot of room treatments. And as always, Jeremy sets it up excellent. And this is my first time getting to meet Jürgen Reis. And so I had a 4-part series where he walked through from 4 o'clock to like 4:30 or more, different stages of talking about why and about the design of the NBLs, why he does it, what it accomplishes, and then talking about it in different stages to break it down very comprehensively, hopefully in a layman's type way. And I'll probably have an interview with him when I go to dinner with him on Friday night. So if you have questions on any of those videos, make sure you post them. I'll take a look at them and I can ask him when I do that interview. So kudos to him on that. And also NBL had one of the best live demos I've ever seen at a show with both a cello and a standing bass, and then they were playing music in the background. Baroque, talking about the instruments, the artists were talking about the instruments, how they tune the instruments. And again, Baroque music, classical music, this type of stuff, chamber music may not be to your taste, but it is valuable to learn it and hear it on a system so that you can benchmark how well your system is reproducing it. And let me tell you, the NBLs, somebody asked me today, what's your cost, no object speaker? Well, that depends on a lot of things, your taste and your room, what can it accomplish and all that, and support. But for basically classical music, I would do NBL Extremes. They sounded phenomenal. And again, in a very difficult environment, they were able to achieve great results. Probably among the top 1 or 2 I heard today. And actually, probably the only one that would compete with it in terms of sound quality was the new Meridian DSP based speaker that they came out with. It's in that $65,000 price point with very cool paint jobs with custom colors you can order for an extra $5,000. Man, with the DSP active, they were able to, even in a noisy noise floor area, they were getting great performance. They put some great tunes out there. You might want to check that out. Also in that same area was the Dirac that I've been talking about. They released a new home theater algorithm, Dirac Live room correction, and they didn't have the numbers for me on how much money was in that per listen based speaker system, but it was probably north of $500,000 home theater there. I couldn't upload the video. I might be able to edit it, but they were playing movie tracks from Maverick and all these other things that get blocked totally by YouTube. So when I tried to upload it, it said, hey, you violated copyrights that totally block your video, so you can't watch it. But I'll see if I can edit it enough that you'll get a taste of it. Also, what was really funny today is Jeff Joseph came up to me. He didn't have a room. You know, he had my favorite room in Florida. I didn't get to see him a lot at Expona, but I heard it was equally great. But those Pulsars are still, in my mind, is under $10,000 bookshelf speaker. You got to audition them. And really anything by Jeff Joseph, you want to audition if you're a Point Source box speaker fan, because he just does it right, in my opinion. But he had just a table out in the open, and he was doing psychiatric help, curing you of your neurosis at his own detriment, because that helps sell gear with him. But again, what we pointed out is he's not one that comes out with a new model every other year trying to create neurosis, upgrade-itis, and whatnot. His designs stand the test of time. And when he does find something worthwhile, he does upgrade. But pretty much the designs of his speakers are the same over time, not much changing. So investing in a Jeff Joseph product is going to last you a lifetime, and kudos to him for doing that. Sorry he didn't have a room this year. Can't get best of without a room, but it was still fun talking to him. Let's see. B&M was probably one of the more innovative speakers I've never seen before, like a folded horn line source with drivers in the back of the horns, but also angled. I was trying to get the brochure to tell me a little bit more real time, and I was trying to film it for you guys, but it was only in German. But I tried to look at the pictures and figure it out what the heck it's doing. That room probably deserves me going in there and talking to the designer more, or at least investigating through the website. It sounded pretty good. I mean, I can't say I loved everything about it, but there were certain aspects that I was like, hey, this thing seems to have potential. And this was early in the day before I realized that all the rooms had issues. So I probably need to go back in there and see if the things I heard positively were probably even worthy of more regard, since it is a difficult environment. Also, in acoustic room, I turned the corner from the press office, and there they were right after the transrotor room, and I ran into this vent. As I told you, I'm going to be visiting their facility. Had a great dinner with them tonight. I uploaded a YouTube short. What was really eye-opening within acoustic is I didn't realize that they were partnering and representing Audio Vector and Primary Electronics to try to help create systems with their product, not just cables, not just sell you on cables alone. Try to get systems that, again, not even are trying to compete for best cost no object, but compete at a level that gets entry-level audiophiles interested, under 5,000 euros, which is even less if you do dollars. And getting in acoustic cables with Primary Electronics, an Audio Vector speaker under $5,000, man, you've got some pedigree there that is amazing, and definitely should give you a taste of what's possible if you go up the line with all these. And I was extremely impressed with the chassis design and the price points of the Primary. I know how much it costs for these chassis. They're not cheap. And when I was looking at the Primary, I kept that in the back of my head all day, looking at all these mega dollar price tag amps that had fancy chassis. The exterior matched, what you expect for the cost. But I was like, that Primary is not a slouch in any respect. In some cases, I even liked it better. So it might take the place of, if you're looking at NAD or Emotiva, I'm now of the inclination. Now I'm going to listen to that a little bit more. And when I go out to an acoustic facility, we're going to listen to their Audio Vector and Primary setup and give even more feedback on it. But I'm already at the point of that might be my new favorite budget brand electronics. And of course, Audio Vector, as you go up the line, I've been very impressed. I'm going to go back and hear those smaller models, but if they have the same pedigree and quality of the bigger, that's going to be a killer under $5,000 system. So take a look at that video if you missed that. Now, the only disappointing room was a scheduled demo, scripted demo and everything, and it was Burmester. Now, I'm a big fan of Burmester in general, especially their electronics. In fact, my friends just took delivery today of the mega amps monoblocks that I featured in a YouTube short a week or so ago. Bought those for his Estalon Forzas. Beautiful chassis, beautiful pedigree of a company, German company. But for whatever reason, when 3MA had the Burmester speaker, it didn't seem to resonate with a lot of people, didn't sell. And for me, it was a little bit bright, the top end. These AMT tweeters can go either way with people. Sometimes they're a blessing, especially if they're tilted up a little bit. People that lose hearing over the years, that could actually be advantageous to have a little bit of built-in tipped up in certain areas where people naturally lose hearing. But if not, it tends to, almost be painful to listen to after a certain amount of time. And I wasn't, frankly, in the demo room. It was just me and another group of people right behind me. And I was like, this doesn't really resonate with me at all. And it's almost kind of annoying. It didn't sound right in terms of top end being a little too bright for my taste. And before the last song even ended, I heard the people behind me talking to the guy saying that this wasn't working for them either on that same basis. So I wasn't alone. But again, show conditions, these rooms, you cannot make categoric conclusions. Although what I'm saying is, I've had a couple of experiences now with Burmester speakers, and I think they're just voiced a little bit different for my taste. Certainly for some taste, though, that's going to be almost ideal. But it's one of those speakers I would definitely audition before you buy. Electronics, I think the pedigree is there. Very attractive, high quality. Probably I would lean towards personally buying Burmester electronics before their speakers, but the combination might be ideal for some of you based on what I've seen. It's just a taste profile and tonal balance that I'm consistently now seeing isn't really my type. So that's basically the report for today. I'll have the same thing for tomorrow, a lot more. So sign up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you back here soon.